Maria. All right, we sound good. So, society's moving backwards. I'm not just making this up. We're going to have some fun today. If you're new here, welcome. And I think this is the most important one right here. Okay? Hear this guy out. He may seem like he's joking, but he's not.
We're officially going backwards as a society and a civilization.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of shit in my 25 years. A lot of fucking weird shit. But today, did I think going into the barbershop today that I'd see some little broccoli-haired bastard attempt to pay his barber with Apple Pay? Barber's, no,
Ding.
cash. He's like, you got to give me cash. You don't take Apple Pay? You don't take fucking... What world do you fucking come from that you pay your barber with Apple Pay? What's that? You're going to ask him to put a fucking line of credit on a haircut? No. Cash. Okay, all you kids and your fucking cryptos, cash is being overlooked here. Cash is declining, and we got to bring it the fuck back.
Okay, so he's not tripping. The whole cashless society thing, I actually think that's a step backwards. I don't think it's smart. I don't like it. Now, excuse the noise you'll hear outside. We got some people painting the house, and they're being a little disruptive. But, hey, they got to get that money, and the house looks like shit. We need it painted. Now, speaking of places looking shitty, this is something else I've noticed that's moving backwards, and that's just, like, quality of buildings, everything, basically. But this right here, check this out.
Can someone who understands or studies trends and marketing explain this transition that's happening in restaurant design to me, where we're taking these really colorful spaces and we're turning them into like corporate banks? It's a really confusing phenomenon to me because everything I hear about marketing to millennials is that millennials are motivated by nostalgia. And so I don't understand this move from nostalgic interiors that are still functional to these more gray box spaces.
She's not tripping before we get into this. But look at this real fast. This is like when you went in somewhere, this was it. It was fun. You know what I mean? From the buildings being built. I mean, seriously, it's almost like they've taken minimalism too far. Right? And even the way people dress. Now, like, I don't just walk around in a red leather jacket, although I'd like to. But I live in South Florida, and it's just a little too hot. But I even catch myself sometimes just dressing like absolute shit. Just like a tank top. And not that that's shitty, but it's something to think about, though. It really is. I don't know why. I don't get it. Maybe it's too much money to make things look like this now. But things do feel bland. Even sports jerseys. Seriously, I should have pulled some of those up. Something to think about.
Interiors that are still functional to these more gray box spaces.
Huge news. Elon Musk announced he's going to start selling the Tesla homes in 2025. But the crazy thing is, they're only going to be $12,000.
So let me get this straight. Does it drive? Because your cars cost $12,000. Your cars cost about 4 times that. But they actually drive around. I'd rather live in a van, to be honest with you. I mean, I know, but this is where it's kind of going. You know, went from really nice homes to a Tesla house, or just live in your Tesla or a van.
Let me know in the comments if you would live in one.
Back in my day, the economy was so good, I was addicted to Oxycontin and still had my own place.
Now, that was funny, and that is a valid point. But I threw that jacket off because today I'm actually moving forward. It's taken me a long time to do this, but I finally have a ghetto website up. All right, there's a lesson to be learned here. You could go to jackmorganrlp.sellfy.store. It's a lot, but that's the best I can do because I put too much faith into somebody who bought a domain for me. And unfortunately, 3 months later, nothing was done. So I've got a few shirts for sale. We got the RLP Classic here. And then also, if you're new here, I am a skateboarder. So I got some old, this SH is a skate house. It's just kind of represents a simpler way of life. I actually sold out of the white ones, but I got yellow, and then we got the hot pink. So yeah, you guys can go to that. I'll leave a link down below if you want to support. No big deal. But, you know, it may look shitty, kind of like the new buildings. It's not flashy or anything, but, you know, it's a step in the right direction for me at least. So, yeah. Anyways, I'm plugging myself today. I also have the Patreon back up. It's another lesson. You know, sometimes you just got to do it your fucking self, even if it's not the best. I was waiting for this big, grandiose site. And, yeah, it just never happened. So I started neglecting all these other things. But the Patreon's back up and running. All the videos. Get a lot of people like, hey, what happened to your video? Well, I started talking too much crazy stuff. So then the video gets flagged. And then I got to private it or delete it from YouTube. So everything that happens to is now going to Patreon. All my crazy wow stuff, Patreon. Anyways, upward and onward. All right, this one's kind of trippy, like the future of America. If the next 40 years repeats itself, by 2064 we will see these prices. A new car, $151,000. Average rent, $1,900 a week, so about $8,000 a month. That actually doesn't seem too far off. Your average salary would be $326,000. Not too bad. Average house price would be around $5.5 million. That seems pretty accurate. I mean, from some dude on a boat. I mean, if you own a boat, you got to be doing pretty well. So I'm gonna trust this. I'm gonna trust these numbers here. Anyways, just something to think about. We're getting kooky today. We're gonna have some fun. All right. Here's another thing that we're talking about with the buildings and everything. A fountain built in 1651. Look at this. God level Zeus. You know, from the stars. Greek men with penis. You know. But then you got the fountains built in 1971. Look at this piece of shit. That actually looks like something built today. You should see some of the structures they built down the street from me. God, I should have went and got photos of those. It is what it is. Something to think about. Okay? We're just talking here. All right? Anyways, this guy, this one's rich. Talk about going backwards. This guy's the best.
The Western world at the moment, everything is backwards. Now, what do I mean by that? Well, let's look at a couple of examples. You see, we used to listen to our politicians and laugh at comedians. Whereas today, we laugh at our politicians and we listen to our comedians.
And these Latinos, they love making...
This is the best. This is Tony Hinchcliffe from the Trump rally. Fantastic.
And these Latinos, they love making babies, too. Just know that. They do. They do. There's no pulling out. They don't do that. They come inside, just like they did to our country.
The media is supposed to tell us the truth. Tell us the facts about what is happening around the world, and then you and I are able to form opinions off of the facts that we have been given. Whereas we know that they don't give us facts anymore, they give us their own opinions, and then us as the general populace have to figure out what is actually true and what is false. You look at our taxes. We are paying some of the highest taxes in this country since the war and just after. Yet our quality of life has absolutely plummeted.
But this is what I meant earlier, too, about the way we dress and stuff like that. You know, I like to kind of dress nice, but I find myself just out in public like this. You know? I'm not saying you can't dress nice, just be in a t-shirt and some nice pants that fit you good. But this is just kind of, look at the standard here. You know what I mean? There's a regular guy. I don't know, maybe he was super important. But this is kind of, you know, how America went from being a global leader to a struggling nation in just a few decades. And we all know how that is going. And basically, that dude could support this. Check this. This is going to make sense. That dude supported that whole family. I'm willing to bet just with one job, chilling. Okay, we don't need to talk too much about that. But this is now right here. This is where this guy used to live. Not that guy. This other guy about to come on the screen. It's going to make sense. All right. And in just 1 year, this is the unnecessary reality for a lot of people. He's living in his car. And you know why he doesn't live in Elon Musk's new, Tesla spaceship home thing? Jetsons thing? It's because he doesn't have $12,000 to go buy that or land to put it on. Classic. Another thing, too, that's kind of moving backwards is just families. What family used to look like, right? This is some dude's mom and their great-grandparents. This was the family function, okay? And I had a very similar upbringing to this. A bunch of cousins. I don't have any brothers or sisters. That's been declining. But I had a bunch of cousins, and then my mom, her 4 siblings, the grandparents. Now half of my family's dead, and none of the cousins have had a kid yet. All 6 of us have had not one fucking kid. Okay? And none of us have any brothers and sisters. Actually, 4 of my cousins are brothers and sisters. None of them have any kids. I'm 35. They're all 30 now, or 34, 30 to 35. Okay, so this was our family function. See if you could see that, okay? This was the Dewan family party, all right? There's me right there. There's my dad, right? There's me. This was every year we would do this big fucking thing. They'd rent out this big space, and we haven't done it in 10 years. And now Christmas is like me and 3 people. That's Christmas now. Not every year. But point is this is disappearing. And I think it's good for society. Anyways, keep this party moving. All right, this one was great. Everyone seems to have had grandparents that smoked cigarettes their whole lives, fought in 2 wars, didn't give a shit about diet, and still lived to be 95 years old. Whereas kids today are practically allergic to the air. Something toxic has made us more fragile. We're not going to go too deep on that, okay? And susceptible to disease. I honestly just couldn't read the word susceptible, so I almost gave up on it. But I need to work on that. But that's true. Literally. Both of my grandfathers lived to their mid-90s. They both smoked like chimneys. But, you know what? We're not going to go too deep down the rabbit hole. But I'm willing to bet it's... the whole food thing, at least in America. The organic food industry has grown into a $60 billion market. But the high price of organic food means that the healthier options still remain out of reach for low-income families. Wow. But here's the funny part. It's not like back in the day, everything was just organic this and organic that. No, it was just food in the grocery store. You know what I mean? Like, I did a whole video on this called The Food Problem in America about 5 videos ago. I mean, the food's just shit. It's just crap. Now we have to make other food that says, this isn't crap food. Right? And if it doesn't say this isn't crap food, then it's crap food. I know. So, it's funny. It's healthier to smoke cigarettes and eat food from the 50s than to not smoke cigarettes and... try and navigate your way through the grocery store. Anyways, this is another classic one, kind of has to do with food. Dude's out here selling fruits and vegetables, but this is a man getting arrested for trying to feed his family because, you need a permit to do everything. And it's not like this dude, how much you want to bet if this dude was selling Coca-Cola and Doritos? This wouldn't have been a problem. I'm just kidding. I'm not that nuts. But this is where it's at, okay? Like... anytime I do videos that is too out there, I'm just going to start putting them to Patreon. But that's something to think about, dude. You got arrested for selling fruits and vegetables. It makes perfect sense. The Twilight Zone, I swear. This one, the man who shot 2 burglars that broke into his home is now sentenced to life in prison. So, there you go. That's the extent I'm going to go with law enforcement and all that. Basically, you can't defend yourself, and don't you dare sell fruits and veggies without a permit. Oh. Or else, buddy. All right, let's keep this. All right, we're going to switch gears here, all right? Now, this is another thing. We think, I talk about cars a lot on this channel because I like cars. I like driving. But this is an auto mechanic, all right? I actually like this guy, Gino here. Hey, Gino, baby. New cars aren't reliable. But he's not just talking about that. No. This guy goes deep here. Check this out.
Kind of scary because all these used cars are going to be sold like hotcakes. A lot of the parts are going to have to be man-made. I had another comment that this is like Cuba, and it's 100% right.
Now, when he says this is about like Cuba, This is important. I actually have a friend, his name's Tone Talks. He's got a YouTube channel as well called Tone Talks. He said this to me recently as well. Kind of like we're being forced. We can't afford these new cars. So we're almost being forced into these really old cars. But it gets deeper than that. Speaking of Cuba here.
Things are going in the direction that they're going with the amount of money that people are making and the way that the technology for automobiles are moving. There's going to be a lot like Cuba, and we're going to have to start making parts, and we're going to have to start putting different engines in different things because they ain't going to be reliable as much as we say they are. Once they're at the end of their service life, person with Honda Civic, if you hit 300,000 miles in your Honda Civic, that's great. It's at the end of its service life at that point because you're going to look at the price tag and what it's going to cost to fix it, and you're going to go, at that point, I might as well just buy something new. And that's the problem. This is the issue. We can't just keep replacing all of these massive things.
I think he's got a point because I'm forced into driving. Not forced into it. I could go get a car payment, but like I'm just not comfortable spending 30, 40 grand on a car. Even 20 grand on a car, on a used car. That's not even what I want. I'm just not. But speaking of Cuba, so I looked up like why does Cuba have, everybody drive old cars? So after the Cuban Revolution, the U.S. imposed a embargo on Cuba, making it difficult to import new cars and parts. This helped preserve the existing cars, which are often family heirlooms. Okay, Cubans have found creative ways to keep their cars running, such as using parts from other vehicles like washing machines and tractors, and even making their own parts from herbs and oils. Wow. Now, I love classic cars. It starts talking about classic cars. But that's just kind of like, it's kind of trippy to think that's, because that's why I bought my car, my 2007 Mercury Grand Marquis. I said, that was a cop car. They got to be good. Same reason I owned a Ford Fusion. It was a cop car, right? It's got to be a lot of parts, a lot of them made, reliable. And that's basically how, like, some of these other countries think. It's like, are we really moving in the right direction? And if we have mechanics saying that these new cars are, they're going to be nowhere near as reliable as, when we hit this golden standard between, I'd say, the 70s to the, early 2000s. Anyways, something to I'm not going to say it again, but something to think about. I'm going to say it the whole video. Something to fucking think about. All right. Now, this one's kind of trippy, too. All right. Now, you guys might not know who any of these influencers are. I barely know who they are. But this is kind of crazy to think. This chick goes, the Haktua girl and Lieutenant Dan will most likely become millionaires. And I'm supposed to convince my kids that school is important. Now, I'll break this down. Lieutenant Dan, I'm not exactly sure who that is. I'm assuming he does some stupid stuff on social media. I could be wrong. But the Haktua girl is a girl who became famous for making a blowjob gesture on camera. That's it. Talking about sucking dick. And now she's literally famous. Okay. And Lieutenant Dan, I'm not sure who that is. I think he's just some half-ass like jokester guy. I'm sure he's kind of funny. But that's where it's at. Even somebody like me, where I could just come on here, talk, make a decent living, and I didn't go to school. It's kind of hard to put an importance on school when you got shit like this here going on and some girl going, spit on that dick. Now I'm famous. Pay me. Kind of crazy. We're not going to go too deep into that, but she's got a point. Anyways, let's circle back full circle, okay? She'll be coming around that mountain when she comes. She'll be coming around that mountain. Cashless society. All right? I harp on this a lot. How many of you guys carry cash? Seriously, raise your hands. Okay, good. At least one person in this room. The truth is, though, is a lot of people don't carry cash. But this guy makes a valid point, and we could trust him because he's driving a fancy car.
Reading this article about moving to a cashless society, and I was kind of wondering who's pushing that. Well, we're about a $26 trillion economy, and I read that about 19% of that is spent in cash. So that's roughly, we'll call it $5 trillion. If they could move that $5 trillion in cash over to credit cards, and the credit card companies currently charge about 2.5%, that's an extra $125 billion a year in fees back to the credit card company. Now we know who wants to go to cashless society.
Makes sense to me. Tax it all. Don't forget the fees. Shipping and handling. This guy Big Ward, he's a cool YouTuber. I like him, but he made a funny remark not too long ago, and he goes, "Oh, he goes, I get it." He's like, "I get why you don't carry cash. It's hard. It's hard to go and go, here's a 20." He goes, "It's difficult to do." And I was like, he's got a good point, because that's what a lot of people say. It's like we brag about not carrying cash and this and all that, but I don't think convenience, full-blown convenience, is the way. Things are just getting really difficult. Like everything's two-step verification. You know what I mean? It's like we're gonna set ourselves up to where this is the money, this is the camera, this is your job, this is your entertainment. It's gonna get to the point where if you don't have this, good luck. Even homeless people have this. I'm just saying. Anyways, we're going to end this down on a positive note here, okay?
Why have I never...
I forgot I even put this in here. Okay. This one's kind of trippy to think about. It took the time it took the United States to print $1 trillion. This is some wild stuff here.
Ever heard anybody talk about the time it took the United States to print $1 trillion. The first $1 trillion took 200 years to print, where now today, trillions are getting printed every 6 months. And that's no surprise when you understand this debt-based monetary system, and that the first $1 trillion of debt we got in took 220 years, where now we're adding $1 trillion worth of debt every 100 days, and we're in $35 trillion worth of debt. Again, 220 years to get the first $1 trillion worth of debt, and now just every 100 days we're adding that same $1 trillion. That just makes me think, I wish we had money that just didn't rely on this debt Ponzi scheme, and that money wasn't just created infinitely for free when a new loan is created. Oh wait. Yeah, this is why I crypto.
Remember what I just said, though. Okay? I get the trillion. That's just kind of trippy. I didn't know about the trillions, and every 100 days it's a trillion. It's crazy. I'm just trying to save $50,000. But with the crypto, it's all, you get what I'm saying? It's all reliant on, I wish I could pick this computer up, but I want to mess up the connection here. But that's like the issue with it. It's getting really confusing. It's like the more advanced we're getting, the more I have to know. I need a password for everything. I need a password for my fucking money. See what it's just having the conversation here. Okay, now let's end this on a positive note. I thought this was hilarious. Humans really saw all of this and saw all of this beautiful nature here, and created a 40-hour work week, car payment, and 30-year mortgages. Anyways, I don't know the answers. Just something to think about. I like doing some of these kind of outside. I need to do more of these kind of Twilight Zone videos. It's just kind of difficult to YouTube. Maybe you guys just don't like them, but anytime I do anything that's a little bit too crazy, it gets flagged or something happens, so I kind of stop making them, although I like going outside the box. Anyways, check out my second channel. I do have the website up, Jack Morgan RLP, selfie.store. I'll just leave a link below. I got to get a domain. That's ridiculous. .selfie.store. If you guys want to support, got the Patreon back up and running. God, solid talk, Trippy shit. We're going to do more of these. This was fun. We barely scraped the surface. Just so much crazy stuff. Good times.